I've just got my kettle here. I'm just going to pour the water into each of the different blends. What I find very fascinating is this blend in particular does strongly resemble the colour and consistency of the raw herbs when they are turned into tea. So I believe it's a very, very concentrated formulation. Hello! Today I thought I would talk a bit about Chinese herbal medicine. A few of you have been requesting more Chinese herbal medicine themed videos, and as I've been to quite a few appointments now, I've received sort of various different prescriptions according to my concerns that I expressed in each appointment. I thought it would be quite interesting just to see how the different prescriptions are prepared. For instance, we've got some granule style formulations, some raw herbs, and then here I've got some sort of more Western style actual herbal infusions that you can make in like a teapot and things like that. So I thought it would just be a bit interesting to go over the different sorts of herbs out there and how you prepare them. So to start off with, when you do get a prescription for Chinese herbal medicine, there's a few different types that you can get. So you can first get a more kind of fully tailored prescription, which is called the raw herbs. That's these ones here. So raw and dried herbs are combined to create tailored prescriptions specifically for each client. The herbs are supplied in daily bags for clients to boil in water to make a herbal tea. So just before I begin showing you all the different herbs and formulations, just a short disclaimer. I'm not doing this video to tell everyone to drink Chinese herbal formulations. I'm not saying they're super cures, especially for anything you should be getting proper doctors to look at for any ailments. I'm just doing it as a kind of interesting way of showing people who might not otherwise either be able to have the chance to take such expensive formulations that my channel has allowed me to get my hands on, or just to see these kind of videos showing what these formulations look like. I just thought it would be kind of an eye-opening video to show the difference between the granules and the herbs, what they look like, the consistency. Just again, an all-around relaxing ASMR style video as opposed to any sort of critique on any sort of Chinese herbal practices. It's just a relaxing ASMR video. But yes, as always, I thought I'd just do a short disclaimer. So let's just open one up, shall we? I'm just gonna pour the herbs into this bowl here so you can see clearly what they look like. So as you can see, there's a really wide variety of herbs inside, and they're really natural. You can literally see some of them look like pieces of tree bark. I find it super fascinating to kind of sift through all these different herbs and see what's in there. The consultation for these herbs, I explained that I was having insomnia. I also mentioned kind of distress, so I was having a lot of mind chatter before I was going to bed. There was also a lot of questions about my tiredness levels during the day, how my commute to work was impacting my health, those sorts of questions. Sadly, every consultation I have, there does seem to be a lot of mention of how weak my pulse is, but I'm quite glad that that's something that's been brought to my attention now. It's not something I ever would have known about myself just from maybe occasionally attending the doctors. So it's nice to be more aware of my general health. But yeah, it's really fascinating to see all the different kind of components to this prescription. Something about sifting through the herbs in this way really reminds me of like a witch's cauldron and all the different ingredients they put inside, and then watching it kind of bubble away in the water. But yeah, this is what the raw herbs look like, how they come in the little packets. This is the prescription for one day, and it's pre-measured out for you. And then there's a special way to prepare these herbs to turn them into a drinkable kind of tea format. So I'm just going to show you quickly how I make them. So first of all, I've just got my medical herbs here. They come pre-prepared in the correct dose for 1 cup of tea. It's really useful having them in these pre-prepared bags. I don't have to measure anything out, and I think it helps keep the herbs longer as well, that they're all wrapped up and they're not exposed to the air. So I empty 1 or 2 bags of herbs into a large stainless steel pot. You can see all the different raw herbs that have gone into my prescription. It's fully tailored to me, so when it's raw and dried herbs, this is often how a prescription can be super tailored to what someone's mentioned in their consultation. And I will put the link to the specific Chinese medicine consultation I had for these herbs in the top right hand corner of this video. So boiling raw herbs is the classical way to take Chinese herbs, and many doctors think this provides the strongest prescription on the basis that you're cooking all of the herbs together, and this produces a unique synergy of the herbal components. So here I'm just kind of looking at all the different herbs that have gone into it. I find it really fascinating to just see how natural it all is. So next I add cold water until the herbs are completely coloured. This is usually about 500 milliliters to 750 milliliters per bag. And then I cover and leave them to soak for a minimum of 30 minutes, but this can be up to 6 hours. And it's quite useful to know that you can have them soaking up to 6 hours. There have been times when I'm busy, trying to come back to the herbs after 30 minutes is a bit tight, and so it's really nice to know that even if I forget about them, as long as I do come back by 6 hours, nothing bad is going to happen to them. If a lot of the water has been absorbed after 20 minutes, and then you just top up with more water until the herbs are covered by about 3 to 5 centimeters of water. And so once you've soaked the herbs, now you need to bring them to the boil. And then once you see the bubbles starting to form, you immediately turn down to the lowest heat, and then you partially cover the herbs with a lid. And here you can just sort of see the bubbles starting to form, and again it's really bringing back this kind of cauldron image. Sometimes I like to stir just so nothing does stick to the bottom if I've accidentally made it too hot or anything. But it's really, really relaxing actually to watch the process. The smell as well, I actually really, really love the smell of the boiling herbs. It's very strong, and it does actually stay in your house for about a day, so hopefully if you do live with anyone it doesn't kind of linger if they don't like the smell. But I think it has quite a rich, earthy, homey smell to the herbs, and I really, really like that. And so once it's gone to the boil, simmer for 45 minutes. And then after it's come to the boil and 45 minutes have passed, you want to strain the liquid through a fine sieve into a jug. And if you were preparing 2 bags, then it's best to kind of separate half of this tea, and you can refrigerate it for the following day. This is really useful for people who want to have the proper herb formulation, to know that there's nothing bad going into it and you're going to get the best product that you can. But if you are busy, it's quite hard to boil the herbs in this way every time, so it's very good to do 2 at once and refrigerate some for the following day. You should be left with about 200 to 300 milliliters of tea per bag of raw herbs. So the next type of Chinese herb prescription I'm going to show is granules. So raw herbs, it's a lot rarer to get in the UK at least. I don't know about what country you're watching from, but it's quite amazing to be able to get it in raw herb format. And this is just purely because a lot of people live busy lives. It takes quite a lot of time, as you can see, to make these each day. You can refrigerate some, but even then you're still having to make quite a lot of batches to do that all at once. So most people take granules nowadays. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like as well. Just pop this over here. So let's just clean this, shall we? So I've got 3 different types of granules that I'm going to show you. The first is a store-bought pre-made one from Japan. So this is, well, not specific to the person because there's no consultation or anything like that. You will have a certain symptom that you're aware of. In this case it's fatigue, and there is a pre-made formulation for such a symptom. and I believe it depends on how you want to drink it. With this formulation, I was instructed to shot it and then have some cold or lukewarm water on the side, as opposed to actually dissolving it into a tea format. So I'll just pour this out into a bowl to show you what it looks like. So here you can see the little number on the packaging, and that's because on the website for this Japanese herbal formula company, they have loads of different pre-made formulas for different symptoms. So I believe 41 is just the number for tiredness, and I've seen they've got lots of different ones on their website. There's some for acne as well, like skin problems, so it's definitely something to look into if you're interested. So here you can see what the formula looks like. Just little granules. And then it's best to take these and then have a big sip of water to help them go down. And it's just a little amount pre-made. With all Chinese medicine, it's cumulative results are what is gonna make you feel better. So unfortunately, just taking this once probably won't have much of a difference other than placebo, but that's another story. But it's taking this very, very often that is going to be what lets the herbs kind of impact your daily health. So I think a little package like this is very, very useful for people on the go. You could very easily put it in your lunch bag for work or school and have it with your meal so that you don't forget. Kind of similar to supplements. So yeah, this one's really useful. As with most Chinese medicine, it has a bit of an acquired taste. But I will say, in my own opinion, compared to the raw herbs, it's nowhere near as bitter. And because I am always kind of shotting it, you don't really taste it all that much. Just give you a little comparison side by side. So these granules are just similar to these herbs, but they've been made down into these tiny little grains so that they dissolve in water really, really quickly. Whereas getting all the nutrients from the actual herbs is going to take much, much longer and usually will be slightly more expensive of a prescription. But some doctors argue, as I mentioned earlier, that the raw herbs are like the best way of getting what your body needs as opposed to the granules. So next, moving on. So my next version of granules for Chinese herbal medicine are these. As you can see, it's got my name on it because it was my own prescription. So it never fails to amaze me that even though this is packed away in this little bag, I can still smell the herbs really strongly. It's also fascinating that while they are all slightly different prescriptions. The smell is quite similar. I guess a lot of the same herbs are being used for my similar symptoms each time. So yeah, you can just sort of see the bag is really packed to the brim with all of these granules. And so the instructions I was given for this specific formula was to take it twice a day and dissolve in warm water and drink on an empty stomach. And to get the right temperature for the water, it's recommended to boil it first and then leave it for 5 to 10 minutes to cool down, or even add cold water to reduce the temperature, and then to fill the water into the mug with the powder. So in this case, 7 sachets would be a 1-week supply. Let me just get those out for you. So this here would be a 1-week supply of these granules that this clinic has given me. So the amount of water itself doesn't necessarily matter so long as the granules dissolve properly. And then you would take half a sachet in the morning and the other half in the evening. And then just some things I was told to note on the side. Raw food, cold drinks, spicy foods and alcohol could delay the treatment effect. So also cooked vegetables, meat, eggs and rice are usually suggested to have as a daily meal. So yeah, that was my other granule prescription. I'm just going to pour it out again so you can see the consistency. So I've got a bowl here. So here you can see it's slightly different from the granule blend I just showed you. There's definitely a lot more quantity for what you're getting, and it's certainly a formula that is thinner. It feels almost like grains of sand. It actually does look like sand as well. But the smell is really, really pungent of herbs. Yeah, you can just see the consistency. And you just dissolve this in some water. Now, when I compare the two granule formulations that we've looked at so far, you can see that this one is a lot thicker. It doesn't really dissolve when I rub it in my fingers like this. They're much bigger chunks. And yet this one is very, very sandy. Now finally, I'll move on to my last prescription. So here is a powder I was given. I'm to take 6 grams, which is equivalent to 6 level spoons. They provided me with a little spoon to go with it, and it's really, really helpful. because I didn't have to measure it all out. It's just 6 spoons into a cup. And so you have this 2 times per day after food. You mix with 1/4 of a cup of boiling water and drink when it cools down. Now, small amounts of honey can be added if the taste is too strong, and I believe that is the case for all of these, but most places will recommend you just try not to taste the formula if it doesn't taste great for you. So let's just open it up so you can see inside. So using my spoon here, you can see I've got quite a good amount of herbs mixed in here. A lot of powder inside. And I just use 6 level teaspoons of this to make some tea. These are each of the different granules. And here we've got the raw herbs. All the kind of different formulations you can have for Chinese medicine. Now, some other things I had to show on the side that were vaguely related, and I thought it was a shame not to show them for the video. Things that aren't necessarily Chinese medicine, but are just a way of incorporating a similar kind of methodology of health into your daily life. Here I've just got some Korean ginseng tea. A lot of these formulations here actually do use ginseng. It's a lot more common in Asia as a health remedy. And this sort of tea can just be found in either your local health store or online. I know in the UK they sell it in Holland and Paris. And it's similar to the Chinese herbal formula. You just dissolve the contents of the packet into a cup of hot or cold water. And yes, you can add honey if desired. So it's just a similar way, a much more affordable way of getting some of the same herbs into your daily life without having to have a consultation. So I'll just give you a little look as well of what the tea looks like. So as you can see, it's again a very similar kind of texture that dissolves when it's put into water. Very crumbly. But yes, just a slightly more affordable way of getting one of the ingredients of the other prescriptions. Then finally, the last thing to show you all today was some more Western style herbal blends. So recently I've been occasionally doing my own kind of herbal infusions at home for a tea, and you can actually buy the ingredients yourself online and make your own blends, just kind of suited to your own lifestyle and needs. So here I've got some of the original ingredients. We've got lavender flower here. And then we've got chamomile flower, known to always be good for kind of relaxation. So lavender, chamomile, and then finally here I've got Damiana leaf. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but this blend was recommended from line as one that's good for relaxation and sort of helping insomnia before you sleep, taking this sort of blend. And yeah, that just seemed like a very sort of similar, more easy at-home approach to these more expensive formulations. So I'm just going to quickly add some water to each of these blends so that you can see how they dissolve. And then finally, I'll make some tea to drink with this formulation, and then we'll call it a day. So I've just got my kettle here. I'm just going to pour the water into each of the different blends. So you can see how different the consistency of each of them is, the colour as well. And then this is the Japanese blend that I've never actually taken with water before, but I believe it is okay to do so. And then finally we've got the ginseng tea here. Doesn't even really need stirring, it dissolves really easily. As opposed to the Japanese one, where you can see a bit of the granules stick to the bottom unless you're stirring. So if you are going to take it as a tea, it's probably good to have a little spoon like this to stir it with. And then finally, I believe it's because this is technically a whole sachet I've put in here, so there's such a small amount of water as opposed to the half a sachet you're recommended, but it's quite stodgy and very hard to dissolve. You've got some kind of chunks in here, so probably the least easy to drink as well out of all of them because it's so concentrated. But what I find very fascinating is this blend in particular does strongly resemble the colour and consistency of the raw herbs when they are turned into tea. So I believe it's a very concentrated formulation. So just going to make myself some tea using this prescription, so you can also see the kind of quality. So just doing 6 level spoonfuls here. And I've just got a fresh spoon here just because I don't really want to mix the formulations as I'm about to drink this one. So I just add some water. Probably about enough. And give it a stir. Just let the formula dissolve. then you just wait for it to cool down to drinking temperature. Hopefully, over time, this will help cure any ailments. But yeah, today was just a demonstration of all the kind of different formulas I've been supplied in my consultations. I thought it might be interesting for people who have never had any. I understand that all of them long term are quite pricey options, so it's really nice to see beforehand if you are interested what they all look like. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just sort of a Chinese herb haul, if that exists on the internet. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.